Go. There you go. Work, work, work. Let's go, let's go. Eyes up. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Welcome into Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen in our home studios. We'll hear from Olivia Landis and Brian Baldinger later in the show. EA, the Jets are back on the field, and we are no longer in the BetMGM studios. Instead, we're back at home, still rocking and rolling.
Greens, I feel like we've come full circle since March. We started here as the pandemic got underway in our homes, and now we are back home. We missed the BetMGM studio already, but the show goes on for the Jets. They're back out there on the practice field at One Jets Drive, and we'll be showing you scenes from practice throughout the day. This is one of my favorite weeks of the year because on Sunday, the Jets and all the other teams, the players from the other teams will be wearing on their cleats, "My Cause, My Cleats," highlighting their various causes and charitable organizations that they support.
Yeah, I love this week as well. And this is the one week where the NFL bends its uniform rules to allow players to show support on their cleats. Just like you said, "My Cause, My Cleats." You can check out the Jets Instagram account and all our platforms for all the players and the supports or the causes that they support. That leads us to today's headline, which is a quarterback related headline. Adam Gase said earlier this week, he was asked, well, given the struggles that Sam showed against the Dolphins defense through 2 interceptions, would you consider maybe going to Joe Flacco? And he said, no, Sam's a guy. He needs to take as many reps as possible. And that Dolphins defense is a very difficult defense to go against. If you remember, Joe Flacco didn't have a great performance against them in week 6 either.
Yeah, the Dolphins defense really had their way with the Jets offense this season. That first game was a 24-0 shutout, of course, last Sunday. The Jets were only able to put 3 points on the board, but Sam Darnold did lead them down the field as they scored for a 5th straight game on their opening possession. And he was able to hit Brashad Perriman and Denzel Mims 4 times apiece. Unfortunately for the Jets, they were not able to capitalize on some golden opportunities, especially there in the second half after the defense forced a couple Miami turnovers. There was also a 4th and 1 play in that game when the Jets were in the red zone. But when you look back at the performance, 59% of his throws he hit on, but the 2 interceptions were costly, of course. And it's a bottom line league, and the Jets did not score enough points to win that game. But yeah, Greens, he had missed the previous 2 games. So you got to have some patience. They played against a very good defense. Miami got off the field on 3rd down. This week, I'm looking ahead to a Raiders defense that is 27th in passing, 28th in scoring. They're giving up 29 points a game. So I think Darnold and company will have the ability to put some more points on the scoreboard. They have to do that.
Well, you just mentioned the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, last season, in week 12, we're now going into week 13. So about this same time last year, Derek Carr and the then Oakland Raiders, their final game at MetLife Stadium against the Jets as the Oakland Raiders. The Jets won that game 34-3, largely in part because of Sam Darnold's performance, one of the best of his young career. He threw for 315 yards and 2 touchdown passes. And obviously both teams are a little different, as you would expect, just because that's the nature of the NFL. But that Raiders defense is largely similar to what the Jets saw last year.
Yeah, and then I get back to the numbers. They're just 31st in sacks with 12, and they also, in terms of 3rd down defense, 27th in the National Football League. So, listen, the Jets are going to have some opportunities to make some plays. Last week against Atlanta, the Raiders got blown out. It was a similar situation to the game you just brought up last year. The Raiders came to the East Coast at 6-4, and the Jets laid a thumping on them. Last week, they came to the East Coast playing Atlanta down there in the Southeast, and the Falcons took it to them. The Raiders are going to be desperate for this ball game, 6-5, fighting for their playoff lives.
And Alec Ingold, the fullback for the Raiders, recently said that this is going to be a gut check for the Raiders coming off back-to-back losses where that defense has allowed a large number of points. We'll hear more about that from Cynthia Freeland. But for a closer look at this Raiders offense that goes through Josh Jacobs, the second-year running back out of Alabama, let's hear from Brian Baldinger for another Baldy's Breakdown presented by Sharp.
In this video, I want to take a look at this Raiders offense. Power running game behind a good offensive line. The Jets defense have got to get ready for I formation and an inside the tackle, between the tackle, power run game led by Josh Jacobs. He's a good player. They do a good job up front. He's able to find daylight and he runs with power. He's a good contact back, meaning when he gets the contact, he beats the contact and he gets extra yards after the contact. They got a good change of pace back in Devontae Booker. Run a lot of the same type plays with him. But Booker is a good change of pace. He doesn't get as many carries, but he has the ability to find daylight, and then he has a more explosive step. On third downs, their go-to guy is Darren Waller. For the second year in a row, he's their leading receiver. They run a lot of plays for him, like this against man coverage, and he can run. He's big, he's rangy, and he flat out can run, and he can beat man coverage. He's good in matchups, like he is right here, running right by Sorensen, and Carr puts it right on him. Now, they picked up Nelson Aguilar in the offseason. He's up at the top, and he runs this speedo route here, but watch Ruggs at the bottom. Ruggs opens this window up, number 11. He's got tremendous speed, one of the fastest players in the league, and if they're not throwing it to him, they use him as a decoy. And then Derek Carr from the pocket, they've protected him well this year. All right? He's been good from the pocket. His big problem is ball security. The ball gets knocked out of his hands a bunch, and he's been loose with it. And he'll make critical decisions in rough times. But for the most part, he's been very good this year.
You know, EA, the Jets did a great job against Josh Jacobs and that Raiders rushing offense last season. The Jets held Josh Jacobs to only 34 yards on the ground. And this season, he's 5th in the NFL in rushing yards. And that Jets defensive line is going to have a tough test against a very good Raiders offensive line. And one particular Jets defender that's played very well as of late, particularly against the Dolphins, that's Jets defensive lineman Quinn Williams. And for more on him, let's bring in Olivia Landis for more on Big Baby Q.
Thanks, Ethan. Yeah, at the beginning of the season, game overall. And in his second year, especially as of late, that's exactly what we've seen from the 6'3", 300-plus pound defensive lineman. Williams' rookie season had its fair share of ups and downs, totaling just 2.5 sacks, 1 pass defense, and 1 fumble recovery. But through 11 games this year, guys, he's already doubled that with 5 sacks, 3 pass defenses, and 2 forced fumbles. As a matter of fact, last week versus the Miami Dolphins, Williams put on a performance that was arguably the best of his career so far when he finished with 1.5 sacks, 7 tackles, 2 pass defenses, and 1 forced fumble. And following that game, head coach Adam Gase spoke about Williams' performance, and he be tackles for loss or creating pressure on the quarterback, but he's playing his butt off right now. End quote. Quinnen has very obviously found his fit in this defense, and he's become one of the team's most disruptive forces. And in weeks 11 and 12 throughout the league, he was actually ranked first in pressures, stops, and sacks among all interior defensive linemen, and he's played a crucial role in the run-stop game as well. So at just 22 years old, he's been regarded as a top talent at his position in the NFL. And actually, with the Pro Bowl right around the corner, everyone who's watching and listening, all fans can actually go vote for him in the Pro Bowl at NFL.com/Pro Bowl vote.
All right, Liv, appreciate it. You know, EA, Quinn Williams, I mean, Olivia just said it. He's 22 years old. He's clearly taking that jump that you'd want to see in a second-year player, and he's going to have another tough test against Rodney Hudson and that Raiders offensive line that has a lot of big ballers up front.
I'm glad Olivia mentioned the Pro Bowl because he definitely deserves Pro Bowl consideration. Leading this defense in sacks with 5, quarterback hits with 10, and tackles for loss with 8. In fact, Quinn Williams and Marcus May are the only 2 players in the National Football League this season to register at least 5 tackles, a sack, and 2 pass defenses in a single game. He was all over the place against the Miami Dolphins. I know one player who's awfully happy that he's not seeing the Jets this week is Ryan Fitzpatrick because 95 was all over him. Yes, Fitz played well, but he made it a long day for him at the office. And you mentioned that matchup against Rodney Hudson. We're going to be talking about it all week. Hudson is a 3-time Pro Bowl performer himself. So if you're Quinn Williams, you're testing yourself against the best right now. I think Hudson is one of the more underrated players on the Raiders and one of the better players at the center position in the National Football League. So get ready for that one. I can't wait.
And the Jets had 4 sacks against the Miami Dolphins. You'd like to see more of that against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now let's hear from Eric Coleman for his 3 keys to the game.
Hi, I'm Eric Coleman here with Sirius XM NFL Radio with my keys to the game as the New York Jets face the Las Vegas Raiders. Offensively, for the New York Jets, the key is going to be to get Sam Darnold in sync with his wide receivers. Denzel Mims, Brashad Perriman, and Jamison Crowder are going to have to be a big part of this offense. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, continue that momentum from last week. The defensive line had a great performance. They're going to need a big performance to stop Derek Carr and this offense, who are coming off a tough game. Derek Carr had 4 turnovers last week, and if the New York Jets can get into the backfield, cause pressure to Derek Carr, he'll turn over the football. Those are my keys to the game for the New York Jets as they play the Las Vegas Raiders.
All right, thanks, EC, for his 3 keys to the game. EA, we talked about Sam Darnold. You briefly mentioned the performance of the Jets wide receivers, the 3 dudes as Adam Gase, and then we like to call them Brashad Perriman, Denzel Mims, and Jamison Crowder. And they've continued to perform at a high level against one of the better, if not the best, cornerback tandems against the Miami Dolphins with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones.
Well, 1-1, you see him over there on the right of your screen. Denzel Mims now at least 40 yards receiving each of his first 5 games. He's also averaging 16.7 yards of reception, so he can get vertical, and we saw it. He's not afraid to go over the middle, too, and use his body, box out the defensive backs, and initiate contact, and I like to see that from receivers. Brashad Perriman, wow, is he a burner? He flourished down the stretch in Tampa like we always talk about last year. Now you're seeing him do that once again with his new team, the New York Jets. He's averaged 18.1 yards per reception since 2018. That's the second best average in the league over that span among receivers with at least 50 catches. Jamison Crowder's only one of 4 receivers greens in the National Football League this season who's had a streak of 3 consecutive games with 100 yards receiving. What we're seeing right now is teams are paying so much attention to Crowder, and the beneficiaries of that are the guys on the outside, Perriman and Mims. And again, this is going to be the second time Darnold's working with those 3 receivers. So you got to give these guys time. And I know it's been a real tough season for Jets fans, but you have to be encouraged by what you've seen from this group, wide receiver group.
No doubt about it. And, we've talked about Jamison Crowder, I think a little less over the past couple of weeks just because of the performances of Brashad Perriman and Denzel Mims. And I think a lot of fans were thinking when Sam Darnold came back in the lineup last week that Jamison Crowder's numbers would increase. And actually, Adam Gase said that against the Dolphins, Brian Flores in that defensive unit really tried to take away Crowder, which really just speaks volumes to how valuable of a target Crowder has been this season, and especially for Sam Darnold over the past 2 years.
Yeah, it's a great point. You saw a lot of double coverage. It reminded me of the Patriots game. What do the Patriots like to do? Take away your top weapon. Offensively for the Jets, especially early in the season, was Jamison Crowder. Well, Miami said, we're not going to let Jamison Crowder beat us. Again, that Miami secondary, it's elite. The Raiders, no offense to the Raiders, but they're not at that level as the Miami secondary. And Sam Darnold's got that good connection with Jameson Crowder. We've seen that over the last couple seasons. Now he's starting to develop it with both Perryman and Mims. I say both Perryman and Mims because while Mims was injured to start the season, so was Perryman in and out of the lineup. Now these guys are consistent presences on the outside. So it's looking a little bit different. The points weren't there for the Jets last week, but the opportunities were. They were in the red zone. They were on the plus side of the field. They moved the ball at times. You saw the run game get some traction, hat on a hat. Now you got to put it all together.
The Jets are definitely going to have an opportunity to put points on the board against this Raiders defense. And for more of a look on them and some more numbers regarding this Jets team, let's hear from NFL Network analytics expert Cynthia Freeland.
Thanks, guys. The three numbers that stand out this week start with the rookie tackle Mekhi Becton. When he's been healthy, he is a huge bright spot to the tune of 1, as in only 1 pressure allowed over the past 2 games. And that was just the quarterback hurry, not even a sack. That's a great sign for years to come at that position, which is such a crucial position. The next number that stands out is 3.05. Over the past 4 games, the Jets defense has allowed only 3.05 yards per rushing attempt. Now that is tied for best, as in lowest in the NFL since week 8, which is a really good sign. Next, 39, as in over the past 2 games, the Oakland Raiders have allowed 39 points per game. Those were both losses, and they've allowed 50% of third downs to be converted over those 2 games. That's a big contrast to the 3 games prior. So week 8 to 10, they were only allowing 14.7 points per game. So this means there's a big opportunity. For more stats in context, just like that, join me and Dan Grassa this weekend on the Numbers Game. Back to you, Ethan and EA.
A big number that Cynthia just said. The Raiders allowing 39 points per game over their last 2 games. But really, EA, I want to switch focus and talk about this Jets defense and their young secondary. Derek Carr has thrown 19 touchdown passes, only 4 interceptions, and that Raiders offense doesn't really run through the outside like the Jets have seen in the past couple of weeks, like Keenan Allen against the Chargers and last week with Devontae Parker. This offense that the Las Vegas Raiders have runs through their running back and their tight end.
Well, you've mentioned Josh Jacobs a couple times. Impressive rookie season. The Jets contained him last year. What did the Jets do very well defensively? They stopped the run. Even though they haven't won a game this season, they're one of the better NFL run defenses. There's no doubt about that. And Jacobs is dealing with a sprained ankle. So we're sitting here Wednesday at 1:19 Eastern time. We're not even sure if he's going to be in the lineup. So the Jets could catch a big break if he weren't in the lineup. I anticipate he'll go play through that ankle sprain. But in the secondary, the Jets are going to be green again. You're talking about Lamar Jackson. We saw him before, number 38 on the practice field, likely to get a start again on the outside. Bryce Hall, we talked to him this week, the 5th-round pick out of Virginia on the official Jets podcast. You got Ashton Davis starting at the safety position. There was a point last week in that ball game against Miami Dolphins when Arthur Millette was not playing the nickel position. We saw Javelin Guidry, another undrafted free agent, get in the ball game and get some reps. So Derek Carr has played awfully well for this Raiders team this season. The guy the Jets have to really account for this week, and I'm thinking in the safety position, is Darren Waller. He is by far Carr's top target.
And he leads the team in receptions and receiving yards. But the Jets do have a good matchup when you look at the full picture of the Las Vegas Raiders with a banged-up Josh Jacobs entering Sunday's Week 13 matchup at MetLife Stadium. Let's bring back in Olivia Landis for another edition of the Hurry Up Offense. And just because we're not in the BetMGM studios doesn't mean that we're not doing the Hurry Up Offense. And with that, Liv, let's start with you. In just it's 1:20 right now. In a couple hours, the Steelers and the Ravens are going to be playing some Wednesday afternoon football. And it's Wednesday afternoon because the NBC tree lighting, the Rockefeller Christmas tree lighting, is tonight. And the NFL, and I assume whoever represents the tree lighting, said, you know what? The tree lighting is more important than a football game. So the question is, let's bring up the timer if we can, or I'll start my own timer. Oh, we got a timer. Great. Liv, what do you think? Is that the right call?
It's tough to say what is and is not the right call in 2020 anymore because of COVID, but I think they're just trying to give people a sense of normalcy, and people look forward to this all around the world. If you really think about it, people come from all over the world to see this tree lighting, so I'm going to say it's an okay call for right now.
What about you, EA?
Yeah, I'd say it's the right call. We're sitting here in New York, and Rockefeller Center is such an iconic piece, not only just for the city, but the state, the country, and the world. The people all over are going to be looking at the tree tonight. So I think it's fine. It's a nice job by the National Football League, too, Greens and Liv, stepping aside, because the NFL ratings bonanza, they always draw huge ratings. But with COVID, like Olivia just discussed, you've been juggling schedules all over the place. So I think the NFL rightfully said, hey, we'll start our game in the afternoon.
All right. Right at the buzzer there. Okay, so now here's our second question. COVID has obviously dealt a very interesting hand to the NFL, to say the least. And so there, with that comes new rules. And so I'm just curious, EA, we'll start with you. Let's start the timer. Is there a rule that you think the NFL should adopt moving forward that was put in place because of this season?
I think I like them all. How about that? I like the expanded rosters. I like that practice squads, you can have as many as 16 people this season. That means more opportunities for guys out there trying to break in the National Football League. And one of my favorites is the practice squad elevations, where you can take 2 guys each week from the practice squad and put them on your roster for game day.
All right, Liv, you got 38 seconds.
Okay, I'm not going to take 38 seconds because I want to hear your answer as well, but I kind of agree with EA on this one. I think one of my favorite rules so far this season was the expanded roster and the ability to have more players on practice squad, because to me, all I think when I see that is it gives more people an opportunity. It's already so tough to make it in the NFL, and it gives players an opportunity to really showcase their skill set just at a bigger level.
All right, you left me with 10 seconds, which is all I need. I agree with both of you, and I really like the IR rule that you can go down for 3 weeks and then come back up, as opposed to being down for the entirety of the season. All right, right at the buzzer. Here comes the final hurry-up offense question. I'm going to go first, then we'll go Liv, and EA, you can wrap us up here. We saw last weekend the Broncos have the weirdest situation of 2020, where a quarterback in their room tested positive. The other 2 guys were deemed close contact guys based on contract tracing, therefore not eligible to play. So then they scramble, they bring up a player. So who would you choose if the Jets had that situation to play quarterback for the Jets? If Sam Darnold, Joe Flacco, James Morgan, Mike White, David Fales could not go, this is who I would choose. Jeff Smith, the former college quarterback, and we saw him almost have a pass play this season. So I'm rolling with Jeff Smith because he's a receiver, he's nimble, he could throw it. I think that would be a good call. What do you think, Liv?
I knew you were going to answer it that way, and I think it's a good answer, but I also think, you're kind of a cheater. He was already a quarterback. So I'm going to have to say maybe somebody on special teams. Honestly, I might even go as far to say Braden Mann, just because I feel like with special teams, with these players, they're so used to doing so many different things that you might be able to chalk up a sneaky little play and not necessarily always have to throw the ball each and every single time.
EA, you got 17 seconds. Go
well,
ahead.
you just took up 3 of them. I would say I was thinking about Jamison Crowder, but I got to keep my offensive weapons intact. So give me Marcus May, because he was a great point guard, and I'll have him operate the offense.
I love it. That was right at the buzzer. And Marcus May, fun fact, played running back in high school and had something like a 300-yard rushing game with 5 touchdowns. So that's all we have here on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. Thank you for watching. We're at our home offices. We'll see you next week, but we'll see you Sunday, Pregame Central, presented by Pepsi.